In this video, we are going to learn how to name polymers using IUPAC nomenclature. Polymers are long chains of repeating units. If this is a polymer chain, the repeating unit is A. We could have a polymer with a repeating unit AB. So, the way the polymer is named is we first write poly and within parentheses the repeating unit, the name of the repeating unit. In this case, in the first case, A is the repeating unit. It's called constitutional repeating unit or CRU. In the second case, AB is a repeating unit or CRU. Let's consider a simple polymer chain made up of CH2 molecules. So in this case, CH2 is the constitutional repeating unit. So the polymer will be named as poly followed by, within parentheses, the name of the repeating unit, which is methylene. Let us consider another example. How will you name this? So the repeating unit here is CHBr CH2. So to name this, we can number the carbons. If we number the carbons as 1 and 2, we get poly 1 bromo ethylene. If we number the carbons like this, then we get 2 bromo ethylene. The rule says more substituted carbon gets higher priority, which means the more substituted carbon gets a lower number. So this is incorrect and this is correct. So the answer is poly 1 bromo ethylene. Let's do another example. How about in this case, we can start naming the constitutional repeating unit from CH2 at molecule or from CH or from oxygen. We could write it like this, or we could write it like this, or we could write it like this. Which one is right? The rule says heteroatom in the chain gets higher priority, which means we want to start with the oxygen atom. So let's erase these. So we want to write it as O CH2 CHF. Now, if we look at the chain from right to left, This chain could also be written as OCHF-CH2, again starting with the oxygen atoms. So which one would be right? Since we have seen before that the higher substituted carbon gets a higher priority, this should be correct. It satisfies all the rules. It starts with the atom which is in the higher position in the periodic table, which is oxygen, and it has the higher substituted carbon having the higher priority, which so it gets a lower number. So we can count this as 1 and 2. So how do we name this? So when we name, we start from the leftmost atom and go to the right. So this would be poly, oxy, 1 fluoro, ethylene. Let's go to the next one. Let's try to name this compound. So the rule says that heterocyclic rings have higher priority over carbocyclic rings, which means we have to name the pyridine ring before we name the benzene ring. Okay, so we got that. Now, how do we number? We could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or we could go the other way 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. According to the rule, the connecting carbons should have a lower number, so 2, 4 would be correct because that's less than 4, 6. So let's start writing. It will be poly, and the pyridine ring goes first because that has the heteroatom. 2, 4, pyridine diol. Okay, so we use the suffix dyl, diol. And then let's number this 1, 2, 3, 4, or even if we go this way, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So it would be 1, 4, phenylene. Since the bridging carbons should get the lower number, we start numbering 1 where the carbon connects to the other ring. So the answer is poly, 2, 4 pyridine diol, 1, 4 phenylene. Note the commas and the dashes. The dashes come in between the number and the word. Let's go to the next example. The rule says cyclic rings have higher priority to acyclic, which means CH2 does not get priority. One of the rings should get the priority. And higher unsaturation is in cyclic rings gets higher priority, which means the ring with the unsaturation should go first, followed by the cyclic ring and followed by the methylene group. So let's start naming this. We have to first write poly. We got that. And then let's number. If we start from where the connecting carbon is, because the unsaturation is there, so let's start with that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We could go like this, or we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we start from where the unsaturation is, and we could go clockwise or anti-clockwise. If we go clockwise, then the connecting carbons get the number 1 and 3, which is less than 1 and 5. So we go with the lesser number for the connecting carbons. So that means chlorine gets the number 5. So that would be poly 5-chloro 1 cyclohexene, because this is a cyclohexene ring with its unsaturation at 1 dash 1,3-ylene. So 1,3-ylene shows that the bridge is in the 1,3 position, followed by, let's number this, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's either way, it's going to be 1, 4. So that would be 1, 4 cyclohexylene followed by methylene. Now let's try some simple problems. What would this be? The first one. We have to write poly, so we write that, followed by, does the oxygen atom go first or the phenyl benzene ring goes first? Should be the oxygen atom, because heteroatoms in the polymer chain get precedence. So it will be oxy. And how will the numbering be? It will be 1, 2, 3, 4. So polyoxy 1, 4 phenylene. The next one. Remember, the higher substituted carbon gets a lower number. So poly, since this carbon has a phenyl ring, it gets a lower number, so it would be 1 and 2. So it would be 1 phenyl ethylene. The next one, poly followed by, this carbon gets a smaller number and this carbon gets a higher number. So 1 methoxy carbonyl, which is this group. This group is a methoxy carbonyl group. We have the OCH3 attached to the C double bond O. 1 methoxy carbonyl ethylene. Let's look at this example. We have an amino group followed by a CO group followed by CH2. So the order looks right for writing the IUPAC name, because the amino group with the heteroatom is on the leftmost. CO group takes precedence over methylene group because carbon is attached to an oxygen versus carbon being attached to hydrogen. So let's start writing. Poly imino. We are going to look at the CO group as a oxomethylene group. Okay. So we write it as 1 oxo hexamethylene. And since we have parentheses embedded inside, we are going to make this into a square bracket. So this would be the name, polyimino 1-oxo hexamethylene. Let's name this. We have a CO group, a methylene group, followed by CO group, imino, methylene, and imino. So what goes first? the NH has to go first so that the heteroatom is on the leftmost. So let's rewrite this as NH, and then we have CO to the left of the NH and methylene group to the right of the NH. So since CO will take precedence over the methylene group because the carbon is attached to oxygen, we move toward the left. So moving leftwards, we get NH, CO, CH2 4 times, CO, NH, CH2 6 times, and that's it. Now let's start naming. This would be poly, parenthesis, imino, and then we have the CO, CH2 4 times CO group, which we want to look at as 1,6-dioxohexamethylene. So that whole thing would be 1,6-dioxohexamethylene followed by imino hexamethylene. So that would be the name. So let's make the square brackets because we have the other parentheses inside. Hope this video was useful.